Gate agent tears Marcus's boarding pass in half, shaking her head dismissively. Sir, there must be some mistake. But in 12 minutes, he'll ground this entire flight. Marcus Thompson stands frozen at gate 14, his light blue button-up shirt crisp despite the early morning rush. His leather briefcase bears the subtle wear of countless business trips, and his dark trousers hold perfect creases. At 46, he carries himself with the quiet confidence of someone who's earned respect through decades of competence. The gate agent, Sarah Mitchell, examines the torn boarding pass with theatrical scrutiny. Her colleague whispers something about another one trying to game the system. Behind Marcus, a businessman in wrinkled khakis breezes past with barely a glance at his own ticket. Marcus's jaw tightens imperceptibly. He's flown this route monthly for 3 years, but today feels different. Today, something shifts in his expression. A flash of steel beneath his measured composure. What would you do if this happened to you? Tell us in the comments below. Supervisor Dave Reynolds approaches with a look that promises escalation. Marcus approaches gate 14 with the unhurried pace of someone accustomed to business travel. Chicago O'Hare bustles around him, but his focus remains sharp. The board meeting in Seattle starts in 4 hours. His phone buzzes with a text from his assistant confirming the agenda. Sarah Mitchell notices him from across the gate area. Her welcoming smile fades as she takes in his appearance, her mind processing assumptions faster than facts. She leans toward her colleague, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Watch this one. Something feels off. Marcus presents his first-class boarding pass with practiced efficiency. Sarah's expression hardens as she examines it with exaggerated care, her fingers tracing the edges as if detecting forgery. She checks her computer screen multiple times, typing with deliberate slowness. Sir, I need to verify this ticket. Her tone carries an edge that wasn't present moments earlier when she processed the businessman in khakis. That passenger, clothes rumpled, boarding pass barely glanced at, now settles comfortably into first class. Other passengers queue behind Marcus, their conversations creating a low hum of anticipation. A woman in yoga pants checks her watch and sighs audibly. The morning sun streams through terminal windows, casting long shadows across the gate area. Sarah's colleague hovers nearby, ready to assist with what they both assume will be a situation. Marcus maintains his composure, but something flickers in his eyes, recognition of a familiar pattern he'd hoped to leave behind. Supervisor Dave Reynolds emerges from behind the counter, his posture radiating the authority of someone who's built a career on making people feel small. His eyes lock onto Marcus with predatory focus. Dave's expression suggests Marcus's ordeal is about to intensify dramatically. Dave Reynolds approaches Marcus with the measured stride of someone exercising authority. His uniform bears the minor insignia of middle management, and his expression carries the confidence of years spent controlling gate situations. What's the nature of your travel today, sir? The question hangs in the air like an accusation. No one asked the previous passengers this. No one questioned the businessman now reading his newspaper in first class. Marcus responds with boardroom calm. Business trip to Seattle. His voice carries natural authority, but Dave remains unmoved, immune to competence he refuses to recognize. I'm going to need additional verification, corporate policy. Dave's lie flows smoothly, practiced through repetition. Sarah nods approvingly, emboldened by her supervisor's support. Behind Marcus, the line grows longer. Passengers shift restlessly, some checking phones, others glancing at their watches. The yoga pants woman taps her screen impatiently. Is there a problem here? She asks, her annoyance directed entirely at Marcus, rather than the agents causing the delay. Marcus produces his driver's license, credit card, and TSA pre-check confirmation. Each document receives excessive scrutiny, Dave typing extensively into his computer with theatrical concentration. The performance is deliberate. Ensure everyone understands the power dynamic. Sir, there seems to be an issue with how this ticket was purchased. Dave's second lie comes easier than the first, his confidence building with each fabrication. Marcus's eyes narrow slightly. The first crack appears in his measured composure, but not the explosion Dave expects. Instead, something colder emerges, calculation replacing resignation. Through the gate window, the businessman in first class peers out with mild curiosity, his comfort existing in stark contrast to Marcus's public humiliation. Marcus reaches for his phone, and Dave's confident expression falters. "Sir, please step aside while we resolve this." Dave gestures toward a corner area near the gate, the modern equivalent of segregation. His tone brooks no argument, seasoned by years of moving, difficult passengers out of sight. Marcus doesn't move. "I'd prefer to handle this here." "Company policy requires," Dave begins, but Marcus interrupts with quiet steel. "Show me that policy." Dave's bluster falters momentarily. He can't produce a policy that doesn't exist, so he escalates instead. "Sir, you're causing a disruption. Security will be called if you don't comply." The threat works like a trigger. Phones emerge from pockets and purses, but not to defend Marcus, to capture what passengers assume will be his removal. A teenage girl whispers excitedly to her friend, "This is so going on TikTok." Marcus sees the phones, the stares, the presumption of his guilt. For a moment, he's 12 years old again, standing in his school principal's office while his teacher insists he must have cheated because his test score was suspiciously high for someone like him. He steps aside, allowing Dave his small victory. Sarah smirks, interpreting compliance as admission of wrongdoing. The corner area feels like a spotlight, every passenger now aware of his alleged transgression. "Now, about this ticket," Dave continues, his authority restored. "First-class seats require proper verification of purchase method and passenger identification. They require payment, which I provided." Marcus's response is surgical in its precision, cutting through Dave's fabrications without raising his voice. Dave examines the boarding pass again, stalling for time, while Sarah whispers tactical suggestions. Their performance is deliberate, a public demonstration of who holds power here. A gate agent from Delta notices the commotion. She recognizes Marcus from previous flights and starts toward them, but her colleague pulls her back. "Not our problem," he mutters, unwilling to cross airline boundaries for justice. The PA system crackles with routine announcements, but the words "Final boarding call for Flight 447 to Seattle" cut through the ambient noise. Passengers shuffle nervously, their travel plans hostage to this manufactured crisis. The woman in yoga pants huffs loudly, her frustration boiling over. Some people just need to know their place. Marcus hears this. The words hit like physical blows, each syllable carrying decades of similar dismissals. His phone buzzes with a text from his assistant. "Board meeting moved up 30 minutes. Critical that you're there." Another buzz, this time from an unknown number, that makes his eyes widen slightly. The message reads, "Mr. Thompson, urgent board matter requires immediate attention." Marcus glances at his phone screen, his expression shifting subtly. The text reads, "Mr. Thompson, urgent board matter requires your immediate attention." Flight 447, it's from his head of security. Somehow they're monitoring this situation. His composure finally cracks, but not the way Dave expects. Instead of anger or pleading, Marcus smiles. It's not a pleasant expression. "One moment, please." Marcus steps several feet away, his movement carrying new authority that makes Dave and Sarah exchange uncertain glances. Marcus dials with the casual confidence of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "This is Marcus Thompson, authorization code Alpha 77 Delta." Dave strains to hear, catching fragments that sound like corporate jargon mixed with military precision. Sarah notices how Marcus's entire demeanor transforms, the deferential passenger disappearing, replaced by someone who clearly gives orders rather than takes them. "I need an immediate operational review of Flight 447, Chicago to Seattle." Marcus's voice drops to executive timbre, carrying across the gate area despite his lowered tone. "Yes, I'm currently at the gate. No, I'll handle this personally." Other passengers begin noticing the change. The businessman from first class actually stands up, peering through the window with growing concern. Something in Marcus's bearing suggests this situation is about to shift dramatically. Dave's authority complex kicks in, threatened by Marcus's apparent confidence. "Sir, threatening us won't change. I haven't threatened anyone." Marcus's interruption is silk over steel. "I've simply made some necessary calls." The gate area's PA system suddenly crackles with unusual static, then an unexpected announcement. "Attention passengers of Flight 447. We are experiencing a brief operational delay. Please remain at the gate for important updates." Dave frowns. No one informed him about operational delays. The announcement came from somewhere above his authority level, which shouldn't be possible for a simple ticketing dispute. Marcus checks his watch. Exactly 12 minutes since Sarah first denied his boarding. Punctual as always, he murmurs to himself. A man in a navy suit approaches the gate with purposeful strides, his bearing suggesting corporate headquarters rather than ground operations. Behind him, 3 more suits follow in formation. The navy suit man makes direct eye contact with Marcus and nods respectfully. James Chen, Regional Operations Director, approaches Dave with the authority of someone accustomed to crisis management. His navy suit bears no visible identification, but his presence commands immediate attention from gate staff. "Mr. Reynolds, I'm James Chen, Regional Operations Director. We need to speak immediately." Dave's confident posture wilts like a deflated balloon. Regional directors don't materialize at gates unless something has gone catastrophically wrong. His mouth opens slightly, but no words emerge. "Sir, I was just handling a ticketing irregularity." Dave's voice carries a tremor of uncertainty. "Step away from the passenger, please." James's tone brooks no argument, each word carrying the weight of corporate hierarchy. Sarah realizes she's suddenly isolated in the spotlight. Marcus observes silently, his expression unreadable, but somehow more commanding than before. The power dynamic has shifted so completely that passengers stop filming Dave's discomfort and start capturing Marcus's quiet authority. "Mr. Thompson," James addresses Marcus with notable deference, "I apologize profusely for this incident. It should never have occurred." Dave's eyes widen as the regional director uses the passenger's name with obvious familiarity. How does someone at corporate headquarters know a random traveler's identity? Marcus nods acknowledgement but doesn't speak. His silence carries more weight than any complaint could, the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to having his presence respected. James turns back to Dave with the expression of someone delivering a career-ending verdict. "Your employment is suspended pending immediate investigation. Security will escort you from the premises." "But I was following protocol." Dave's protest dies as airport security approaches, their uniforms representing authority higher than his gate supervisor credentials. Sarah edges away from her station, suddenly understanding that her association with Dave represents a career-threatening liability. The woman in yoga pants stops recording, finally sensing she's captured the wrong person's downfall. Other passengers whisper among themselves, phones capturing every moment of Dave's public humiliation, the same humiliation he'd orchestrated for Marcus minutes earlier. James whispers something to Marcus that makes his slight smile return ominously. James approaches Sarah with the deliberate pace of someone conducting damage control. Her hands shake visibly as she attempts to process what's happening to her supervisor and, by extension, her own career. "Ms. Mitchell, you're also suspended pending investigation." "But I was just—" Sarah's voice cracks with desperation. "Following Mr. Reynolds' discriminatory lead," James finishes curtly. "We have cameras, Ms. Mitchell, and witnesses." The businessman in wrinkled khakis suddenly exits first class, approaching the gate with obvious agitation. He whispers urgently to a flight attendant, who pales visibly and hurries toward the cockpit with unusual speed. Marcus speaks for the first time since James arrived, his voice carrying boardroom authority. "James, I want the complete passenger manifest for this flight." The casual use of the regional director's first name sends ripples through the gathered crowd. Dave, being escorted away by security, turns back with dawning horror as the implications hit him. "Sir," James responds immediately. "I'll have that prepared immediately. Anything else?" The crew manifest as well, particularly flight operations and customer service leadership. James produces his phone, issuing rapid-fire instructions that sound more like military commands than airline operations. His deference to Marcus suggests a relationship that goes far beyond customer service recovery. Sarah attempts one final desperate defense. "Sir, this is all a misunderstanding. We were being thorough." Marcus finally looks at her directly, his gaze carrying decades of executive experience. "Being thorough would have involved treating me like the dozens of passengers who boarded before me. Being thorough would have meant applying your verification process equally." His words cut through her excuses with surgical precision, each syllable carrying the authority of someone who's forgotten more about leadership than she'll ever learn. The gate area buzzes with confused passengers sharing videos and theories, the energy shifting from entertainment to genuine concern about what they've witnessed. A pilot emerges from the jetway, approaching Marcus with obvious recognition and respect. Captain Williams emerges from the jetway with the bearing of someone greeting a superior officer. His pilot's uniform carries the authority of flight command, but his approach to Marcus suggests deference to even higher authority. "Mr. Thompson, I had no idea you were on this flight. My sincere apologies for the delay." The final pieces click for remaining passengers. This isn't customer service recovery. This is damage control at the executive level. The videos they're sharing capture something far more significant than a simple discrimination incident. Marcus nods curtly, his executive presence now undeniable. "Captain, I trust your crew was unaware of the gate situation." "Completely unaware, sir. If we'd known." Captain Williams trails off, the implications hanging heavy in the air. James returns with a tablet, his efficiency suggesting this kind of crisis management is routine when Marcus is involved. "Mr. Thompson, the manifests you requested." Marcus reviews them silently, his expression growing harder with each swipe. The passenger list, crew assignments, and operational details reveal patterns that clearly displease him. "I see several issues here, James." Dave, still within earshot as security processes his removal, catches fragments of their conversation. Policy violations, discrimination training requirements, immediate review. The woman in yoga pants approaches James nervously, finally understanding that her earlier comment was captured on video during what now appears to be a significant corporate incident. "Excuse me, but what's going on? Should we be worried?" James addresses the passengers with professional calm. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're conducting an operational review. Your safety and comfort remain our top priority." Marcus looks up from the tablet, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to reshaping entire operations. "James, I want every passenger on this flight to receive full first-class service, regardless of their ticketed class." "Immediately, sir." Sarah, overhearing from her suspension processing, realizes the scope of her catastrophic error. This isn't about a boarding pass, it's about someone with the authority to upgrade an entire plane's worth of passengers with a single command. Marcus hands James a business card, and the regional director's face goes white. James stares at the business card, his professional composure finally cracking completely. His hands actually tremble as he reads the simple text that changes everything. You're Marcus Thompson, the Marcus Thompson. CEO and majority shareholder of Thompson Industries, Marcus confirms quietly, his voice carrying the weight of corporate empires, which, as of last month, includes a controlling interest in this airline. The gate area falls into stunned silence. Passengers strain to hear, while phones continue recording what has become a masterclass in hidden power dynamics. James's voice drops to a whisper, his career flashing before his eyes. "Sir, I had no idea you were traveling today. Your security detail usually coordinates." "I prefer traveling without fanfare, James. Helps me understand the real customer experience." Marcus's tone carries decades of executive authority, the voice of someone who's built industries from nothing. Today's experience has been educational. Dave, still being processed by security, goes completely limp as the full scope of his career suicide becomes clear. Sarah sits heavily in a nearby chair, her world collapsing as she realizes she discriminated against her ultimate boss. Marcus continues, his voice carrying clearly across the gate area. I built Thompson Industries from nothing. 47 years old, started with a single government contract and a dream. Every slight, every assumption, every barrier, I use them as fuel. The businessman from first class approaches cautiously, his earlier comfort now replaced by obvious anxiety. Sir, I think I owe you an apology. I should have said something earlier. Marcus studies him with the calculating gaze of someone who assesses character for a living. What's your name? Robert Chen. I'm actually James's brother. I work in corporate communications. The bitter irony hangs in the air like smoke. Family members of airline executives witnessed the discrimination and chose silence over justice. Marcus addresses the entire crowd, his executive presence commanding absolute attention. How many of you recorded what happened here? Dozens of hands raised sheepishly, phones still capturing every word. Good. Share those videos. Let people see what still happens in 2025. His voice carries quiet power that transforms observers into witnesses, but also share what happens next. He turns to James, his tone becoming purely business. Every employee involved in today's incident will undergo immediate diversity training, not optional sensitivity workshops, mandatory comprehensive bias recognition programs. Yes, sir, immediately. The gate agents who discriminated against me are terminated, effective now. Their actions violated federal law and company policy. James nods rapidly, making notes with the urgency of someone managing a corporate crisis. Every passenger on this flight receives full first-class service and a voucher for future travel. The inconvenience was unacceptable. Marcus pulls out his phone again, and James visibly braces for impact. Marcus dials with the casual confidence of someone who reshapes industries before breakfast. Legal department? This is Marcus. I need immediate documentation of a discrimination incident. Yes, federal violation, multiple witnesses and video evidence. James fidgets with his tablet, realizing he's witnessing corporate liability management in real time. The scope of Marcus's authority becomes clearer with each command he issues. I also need our diversity and inclusion team on site within 2 hours, Marcus continues, his tone suggesting these resources mobilize instantly at his request. Full investigation protocol. This isn't going away quietly. The PA system crackles again. Ladies and gentlemen, Flight 447 to Seattle will begin boarding momentarily. All passengers will be upgraded to first-class service for today's journey. Excited murmurs ripple through the crowd, but Marcus isn't finished transforming their experience into a lesson about accountability and justice. James, I want the corporate communications team to draft a public statement about today's incident. Full transparency, what happened, how we're responding, what systemic changes we're implementing. Sir, wouldn't it be better to handle this quietly? James asks, his traditional damage control instincts clashing with Marcus's approach. Marcus's expression hardens with the authority of someone who's dismantled discriminatory systems before. Quiet is how discrimination persists. Transparency is how it ends. His phone buzzes with an incoming call. That'll be our legal team. James, coordinate with them on documenting everything. The video evidence, witness statements, the discriminatory policies that enabled this. While Marcus takes the call, James addresses the passengers with obvious nervousness. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Thompson has authorized full first-class service for everyone today, along with travel vouchers for future flights. We're also implementing immediate policy changes to prevent similar incidents. Robert Chen approaches James quietly, his corporate communications background obvious in his concerned expression. This is going to be all over social media within an hour. That's the point, Marcus interjects, ending his call. Robert, since you work in corporate communications, I have an assignment for you. Robert straightens with the anxiety of someone whose career trajectory just shifted dramatically. I want you to personally ensure every video of today's incident gets proper context, not damage control, truth-telling. Show people what discrimination looks like, and show them what accountability looks like. Marcus turns to address the broader crowd, his executive presence commanding absolute attention. Everyone who recorded today's events, I'm not asking you to delete anything. I'm asking you to tell the complete story. He pauses, his authority filling the space around him. This airline has carried me safely for 3 years. I've chosen to invest in it because I believe it can do better. Today proved change is necessary. A young passenger raises her hand tentatively, treating Marcus like the CEO he is. Mr. Thompson, what happens to people like Dave and Sarah? Marcus considers this carefully, his response carrying the weight of corporate justice. They lose their jobs, which is appropriate, but more importantly, they become case studies. Their actions will be analyzed, dissected, and used to train future employees on exactly what not to do. Will they be able to work in airlines again? That depends on whether they learn from this experience or repeat it elsewhere. His tone suggests he'll be monitoring their future employment prospects with the thoroughness of someone who controls industry databases. James receives a text and looks up nervously. Sir, news media are requesting statements. The videos are already spreading online. Marcus nods approvingly, the satisfaction of someone whose strategy is working perfectly. Schedule a press conference for tomorrow morning. I'll address this publicly. Wouldn't it be better to let the story die down? James, how long have you worked for this airline? 12 years, sir. In those 12 years, how many discrimination incidents have you personally witnessed or heard about? James's uncomfortable silence provides the damning answer Marcus expected. Exactly. This story doesn't die down. It becomes the catalyst for industry-wide change. Marcus's phone rings again, and his conversation continues the transformation of personal injustice into systematic reform. Thompson Industries, this is Marcus. Yes, I saw the preliminary social media reports. No, we're not containing this story. We're amplifying it with context and solutions. A flight attendant whispers urgently that the airline's board of directors demands immediate contact. The message reaches Marcus as passengers begin boarding with unprecedented first-class treatment. The airline's board of directors has called an emergency session for tomorrow morning. Dave Reynolds and Sarah Mitchell will face formal termination hearings that will destroy their careers permanently. Marcus reviews documentation compiled during takeoff, James having worked with military efficiency to gather evidence. Dave's employment file reveals a damning pattern. 17 customer complaints in 2 years, 14 involving passengers of color, all dismissed as misunderstandings by supervisors who shared his biases. Sarah's record shows similar patterns, plus social media posts revealing troubling beliefs about certain types of people not belonging in premium services. Dave sits in his living room, scrolling through social media in mounting horror. Flight discrimination trends nationally, his face clearly visible in dozens of videos, his name associated with terms like racist gate agent and workplace discrimination. His phone rings constantly, reporters, former colleagues, family members who've seen the viral footage. His wife returns from work to find him staring at his laptop screen in devastation. The company fired me, he tells her numbly. They said it was discrimination, but I was just doing my job. Dave, I've seen the videos. Everyone's seen the videos. The full scope hits him like physical blows. This isn't just job loss, it's career annihilation. Airlines share employment databases. His actions today will follow him throughout the industry like a permanent scarlet letter. Sarah faces similar devastation, but with added viral humiliation. Her earlier smugness, captured in high definition, has become internet shorthand for workplace discrimination. Smug Sarah spreads across platforms, her expression of satisfaction while humiliating Marcus now symbolizing everything wrong with biased customer service. She attempts damage control with a public apology video, but it backfires spectacularly. Comments point out her defensive tone, her failure to acknowledge genuine harm, her focus on her own consequences rather than Marcus's dignity. The airline's board of directors reviews footage with the grim efficiency of damage control experts. CEO Patricia Hayes addresses the room with the authority of someone managing a corporate crisis. Gentlemen, ladies, we're facing our worst PR nightmare in company history, not because of what happened, but because of how systematic it appears to be. Legal counsel presents the liability assessment with clinical precision. Federal discrimination lawsuit is certain. Civil rights violations are documented, but Mr. Thompson's response suggests he's more interested in systematic change than financial compensation. What's his settlement position? Asks the chairman, hoping for simple monetary resolution. He doesn't want a settlement. He wants permanent policy changes, industry-wide discrimination tracking, and public accountability measures. The room falls silent as they realize they're dealing with someone who can't be bought off or silenced. Dave sits across from HR representatives, union counsel, and corporate executives, watching his career end in real time. Video evidence plays on repeat. His dismissive treatment of Marcus, his fabricated policies, his power-drunk performance for cameras. Mr. Reynolds, the HR director begins with clinical detachment. Federal law prohibits discrimination in public accommodations. Your actions constitute clear violations. Dave's defense crumbles under video evidence that captures every discriminatory choice he made. His claim of following procedure evaporates when confronted with footage showing different treatment for white passengers. The HR director reveals Marcus has requested Dave and Sarah become industry-wide case studies. 6 weeks later, Marcus addresses the National Association of Airline Executives. Marcus stands before an audience of CEOs, operations directors, and policymakers at their Emergency Diversity Summit. His presentation title reads, "From Discrimination to Innovation, How Bias Costs Us All." Ladies and gentlemen, 6 weeks ago, I was humiliated at Gate 14 in Chicago. Today, that incident has catalyzed industry-wide transformation. The audience listens with the attention reserved for someone who controls significant market share across multiple carriers. Thomson Industries' portfolio now includes equity stakes in 4 major carriers. Each has implemented mandatory bias recognition training, discrimination incident tracking, and customer service equality metrics. He clicks to results data. 847 employees have completed intensive bias training. 23 supervisors with discrimination complaint patterns have been reassigned or terminated. Customer satisfaction among minority passengers has increased 34% across our partner airlines. Dave sits in fluorescent lighting, filling out applications with the desperation of someone whose industry has blacklisted him. His LinkedIn profile, once highlighting airline supervisory experience, now attracts trolls and discrimination references. 17 airlines have ignored his applications. The industry database flags his termination for cause. His face, permanently associated with workplace discrimination, makes him unemployable in customer service positions. His wife works double shifts while Dave discovers that discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's financially catastrophic for perpetrators. Sarah folds clothes at a department store for $12 an hour. Her airline career ended by 12 minutes of viral smugness. Customers occasionally recognize her. Managers worry about negative publicity affecting sales. She's enrolled in community college social work programs. Maybe, she tells her counselor, I can learn to help people instead of hurting them. The Dave Reynolds and Sarah Mitchell case studies are now mandatory training components across 47 airlines. Their actions demonstrate what discrimination looks like, and their consequences show accountability in action. Marcus pauses, allowing the room to absorb systematic change built on individual justice. But individual accountability is insufficient. We need institutional transformation. His presentation shows discrimination incident reduction across the industry, real data proving change is possible. Customer service equality is audited monthly. Mystery shoppers of different backgrounds test service consistency. Employees know they're evaluated on fair treatment, not just efficiency. A CEO raises her hand. Mr. Thompson, what's the financial impact? Marcus smiles with the satisfaction of someone whose proven justice is profitable. Customer loyalty among minority passengers has increased industry revenue by $847 million in 6 weeks. Discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's economically stupid. Marcus announces expansion beyond airlines to hospitality, retail, and healthcare industries. 3 months later, Gate 14, Chicago O'Hare. Marcus approaches the same gate where his transformation began, but everything has changed. New signage emphasizes equal service excellence and bias-free travel experience, visual reminders of systematic reform born from personal injustice. Gate agent Maria Rodriguez recognizes him immediately but provides the same professional courtesy she shows every passenger. No excessive deference, no nervous energy, just competent, equitable service that treats respect as standard rather than privilege. Good morning, Mr. Thompson. First-class boarding begins in 15 minutes. Thank you, Maria. Marcus appreciates the normalcy. This is how it should always work. As he settles into the waiting area, Marcus reflects on transformation that extends far beyond one airline. The viral video of his discrimination has been viewed 47 million times, but more importantly, it's generated concrete reforms across multiple industries. A young black businessman approaches hesitantly, his professional attire mirroring Marcus's 3 months earlier. "Excuse me, are you Marcus Thompson?" Marcus nods with the patience of someone who understands his story, belongs to more than just himself. "I wanted to thank you. Last month I was treated poorly at Atlanta's airport, but when I filed a complaint, they took it seriously. They showed me a training video featuring your incident. The gate agent was retrained, and I received a genuine apology." Marcus shakes the young man's hand with the satisfaction of someone whose personal pain has prevented others' suffering. That's exactly why we share difficult stories. Individual justice isn't enough. We need systematic change. Marcus's assistant briefs him on the discrimination prevention program's expansion. "Sir, we've received implementation requests from 23 hotel chains, 156 retail corporations, and 8 healthcare systems. Schedule leadership meetings. The model works. Now we scale it." Marcus has learned that power used wisely multiplies exponentially. His experience of discrimination, transformed into systematic reform, now protects millions of travelers and customers across industries. Dave works night security at a warehouse, a position requiring minimal human interaction. The discrimination training he completed as part of his termination settlement has actually changed his perspective, though too late to save his career. He volunteers at a community center, teaching job skills to unemployed workers. It's his attempt at redemption, using his experience as a cautionary tale that might prevent others from making his mistakes. "I lost everything because I let bias control my actions," he tells the group with hard-earned wisdom. "Learn from my failure." Sarah presents her senior project, From Perpetrator to Advocate, Understanding Unconscious Bias in Customer Service. Her thesis advisor notes the unusual authenticity of her research. "Ms. Mitchell, your personal experience gives this work remarkable credibility." Sarah nods with the humility of someone who's learned painful lessons. "I want to help organizations identify bias before it destroys careers and hurts people. I can't undo what I did, but I can prevent others from making the same mistakes." As Marcus settles into his first-class seat, the same seat type he was denied 3 months earlier, Captain Williams approaches with genuine respect. "Mr. Thompson, our crew satisfaction scores are at all-time highs since implementing the equality protocols." "How so, Captain?" "Treating all passengers well makes everyone's job easier. Less conflict, more appreciation, better teamwork." Marcus smiles with the wisdom of someone who's discovered that justice benefits everyone. Bias wasn't just hurting passengers. It was making employees miserable too. The flight proceeds smoothly. Marcus works on plans for the next discrimination prevention summit, his phone buzzing with interview requests about healthcare discrimination prevention programs. As the plane descends toward Seattle, Marcus reflects on the view below. Somewhere in that city, people are being treated fairly who might not have been 3 months earlier. Somewhere, a supervisor intervenes when they see bias instead of ignoring it. Walking through Seattle-Tacoma International, Marcus passes a gate where a young Latina woman checks in for her flight. The gate agent processes her first-class ticket efficiently, professionally, without question. Marcus pauses, watching. This is what normal looks like. This is what it should have always looked like. Bias is expensive. Equality is profitable. Justice is non-negotiable. Marcus addresses the camera directly from his Seattle hotel room, the city lights reflecting his transformation from victim to catalyst for change. 3 months ago, I was humiliated at an airport gate because of my skin color. Tonight, I'm preparing to meet with healthcare executives who want to prevent similar discrimination in hospitals nationwide. He pauses, allowing the scope of transformation to resonate with viewers. The video of my experience has nearly 50 million views, but views don't create change. Action does. Every complaint filed, every bias training completed, every policy reformed represents real progress. Marcus holds up his phone, displaying hundreds of messages from people sharing their own experiences. I receive stories daily from discrimination victims and witnesses. The message is always the same. What should I do? Have you ever witnessed discrimination like this? Share your story. Where are you watching from? Here's what I've learned. Staying silent protects systems that allow discrimination to flourish. Speaking up, whether you're victim or witness, creates accountability that transforms institutions. Marcus displays industry statistics showing measurable change. Since our airline incident, discrimination complaints across travel industries have increased 340%. That's not because discrimination is worsening, it's because people are finally reporting it. Companies can't fix problems they refuse to acknowledge. He shows another slide revealing economic impact. Customer service equality scores have improved 28% industry-wide. Revenue from minority customers has increased $2.3 billion. Treating people fairly isn't just morally right, it's economically smart. Marcus leans forward, his tone becoming more personal and direct. But I need your help. Share your stories. Call out bias when you see it. Support businesses that treat everyone fairly. Demand accountability from companies that don't. Should there be stricter penalties for workplace discrimination? Let us know your thoughts. Remember, every person who experiences discrimination represents hundreds of others who suffer in silence. Every person who speaks up represents thousands who find their voice. Every system we change protects millions who come after us. Marcus stands, looking directly into the camera with the authority of someone who's proven that individual courage can create systematic change. Dave Reynolds and Sarah Mitchell thought they had power over me that day. They discovered that real power comes from competence, integrity, and the courage to demand justice. Their momentary authority cost them their careers. My response is changing entire industries. He pauses, his slight smile carrying the satisfaction of someone who's transformed personal pain into societal progress. That's the difference between power used to harm and power used to heal. That's the difference between authority that diminishes others and leadership that elevates everyone. Marcus's expression grows more serious, his final words carrying the weight of lived experience. When discrimination happens, you have choices. You can stay silent and enable the system. You can speak up and risk discomfort. Or you can do what I did, use your voice, your resources, and your influence to ensure it never happens again. The next time you see bias in action, ask yourself, what would Marcus Thompson do? Then do it better. Subscribe for more stories of justice and transformation. Share your experiences in the comments below. Together, we change systems one story at a time.